Ken Ween here, Monica Brinkman.
Hello, folks.
And we've been talking about the fires in Southern California, the Palisades fire, but there's like 5 or 6 of them burning. Monica, you of course survived the fire. I never have. I have fought fires, which is scary enough.
Oh.
Being caught in the middle of a fire is like absolutely beyond anything I can imagine. But you know, it strikes me that after you've survived, then you have something else that's almost as bad, which is dealing with the bureaucracy. I'm not sure whether it's harder to deal with running through flames and finding shelter, and finding a place, or dealing with the government and the insurance companies. And one of the things that strikes me is the whole notion of insurance and how do we conceptualize insurance and why do we conceptualize insurance in our society? The idea of insurance is that you're betting. Most of the time you're betting against yourself.
I agree with that.
Betting against yourself. You're betting that something bad will happen to you, that you'll get sick, that you'll have an automobile accident, that you'll die. Most insurance is a bet against your own well-being. Mm-hmm. Okay. And the question is, why are we as a society so preoccupied with that people should suffer the consequences of bad events? And should they always? Now, let's take an automobile accident.
All right.
Okay. You're driving down the road. Somebody swerves across the line and smacks into your car, and you end up in the hospital and your car is totaled.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. You make a claim on your insurance policy, and they then go to the other person's insurance policy, and it's pretty clear cut, it's the other person's fault. So your insurance policy then collects the money, that any money they have given you, plus whatever money the other person's insurance gives you.
Right.
And your insurance company is whole, but your rates go up.
Yeah, that's crazy. Well, I would not, if it was a cut and dry like that, because I used to be an insurance adjuster for years. Mm-hmm. I would be going directly to the other company, not even getting mine involved in a case like that.
But their insurance company is still going to get yours involved because they're always going to try and get some of it paid.
No, it was not my experience when it's cut and dry. Now, if we're talking about, comparative negligence cases, yeah.
Yeah. So.
But if you're totally not at fault, don't go to your insurance company.
Yeah, because you're going to, but of course, then that means that you have to have paid your doctor bill, your hospital bill.
No, because the other insurance company will take care of that.
Well, again,
Ken, I was an adjuster for years.
How quickly?
They'll do it very quickly because all you have to say is that magic word when you have injuries, attorney, lawsuit, and they don't want to pay all those expenses. So they will take care of you. Okay. They might try to fight you, but you just got to stand firm. Don't get your insurance company involved unless you absolutely have to.
Okay, good advice.
But on a fire, you don't have much choice.
Yeah. Now we get to these fires. And, I understand it that some of these insurance companies at the very last minute, when they realized that weather was changing, that they withdrew their coverage.
Yeah. Isn't that terrible? I know. I just love it. Yeah, you're in good hands,
Let's not go after one particular company.
Oh, I'm not. They're all the same, but when I'm like a good neighbor, we can do them all. But when and I know they're out to make money and profits, but reason we have insurance is in case a disaster like this happens. And why punish people who've already been punished? People are losing homes because they can't afford the insurance on them.
Yeah. But also there's just something else that goes into my mind here, which is like in the fire that you were in, it was actually a corporation's fault.
Yes.
Okay. And yet you still had to deal with your insurance company. And basically, I'm wondering at what point should the state become the insurer?
Interesting, yeah.
Okay. And interestingly enough, folks, if you consider health insurance for a minute here, this has really always been an issue. As long as we've had Medicaid or whatever you want to call it, okay? And that was one of the big things when we had the Affordable Health Care Act, or Obamacare, was the $1 million max. If you had $1 million max, basically the insurance company knew what their maximum possible expense was for you. And after that, you were out.
Yes.
And then the government picked up. And people ignored the fact that the assumption was the government would pick up. And even today, with flood insurance, the government picks up. And the question is, at what point do we become the responsible for these bad outcomes? How much automobile coverage should a driver have? And at what point, and then if they don't cover you, if that person who veered across the line, let's say they have minimum policy, and Roz and I were in a car accident where, she had nothing. And, our car was gone. Roz was fairly badly hurt. I needed physical therapy for quite some time. There was no way her policy was covering any of that. And so I had to go to my policy.
Yes.
Should I have had to, or should the government have stepped in? Okay, we should all have a minimum policy, but why is it that if I'm willing to pay more for a bigger policy, that I'm protecting you, the other person, and the society isn't protecting?
Well, if they would take all the policies of the people and group them all together and average them out, it would cost everybody so much less.
Well, if the state did it without a profit motive,
yes.
Yeah, it would certainly. I mean, we all know, especially because we know that insurance can negotiate. We see that now that a lot of us are on Medicare, we see, like if we have, say, United Healthcare, which is what I have, and we go through them, that they are paying fixed rates for things that if I didn't have their insurance and I had to pay the same thing, I'd be paying thousands of times.
It's like Medicare, the same thing.
Exactly. Yes. Well, Medicare is. I'm just doing mine through an insurance company.
Yes.
They can negotiate these things. And that brings up another thing. Why have we stopped Medicaid and Medicare from negotiating a lot of things? Why are we so opposed to the idea that government has a responsibility to protect one another?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. And I've thought about that often. I don't know, folks, what do you think? Let us know.
Yeah, please. Anybody who's got some thoughts on that. And while you're thinking about it, I want you to just think, I started out with this car that went across, swerved across, line. Purely, you're the innocent here, That car has minimum insurance. That's not what happened to us, but that car has minimum insurance, Well, does the government have a responsibility to make sure that person is not driving impaired? Does the government have a responsibility to making sure that person is not speeding? Does the government have a responsibility to make sure that person has a safe car that they're driving? And if the government has not fulfilled that, does the government have a responsibility to take care of your loss and help you? These are questions that we need to be asking ourselves as we think about what is the nature of government and its role. And is government the same as community? These are questions we'd like you to think about. So have a good, well thought out day.
See you next time. Bye-bye.